Oh, 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 oh.
Welcome to Multiple O's, the spin-off podcast for The O Show. The O Show is hosted by Dr. Oriana Fox, the artist with a PhD in self-disclosure. You hopefully know the spiel by now. If you're interested in candid confessions, creativity, nonconformity, and mental health, you've come to the right place. This, my friends, is season 2 of this podcast, which explores the crossover between working on the self and working to change the world.
Hello, this is Oriana. Welcome to Multiple O's. Thanks for tuning in. I have some exciting news to share with you. The O Show has a brand spanking new website. So I know you're going to want to go out and visit it straight away. It's at theoshow.live. Once again, theoshow, all one word, .live. To celebrate the launch of this new website, I've made 2 previously unreleased video episodes available. Those 2 episodes are Time's Up, Penis Down, and the second one is called Without Sacrificing Her Femininity. So one is about masculine sexuality, the other one is about femininity, and they're both really great shows, among my favorites, actually. Really, really fascinating guests. So check those out on the oshow.live website. This week's podcast is an interview with the painter Glen Pudvine, who I spoke with in May 2021 during my Instagram residency for Mimosa House London Gallery. And I will introduce him in the recording, which I will play for you now. Enjoy. This is the O Show live edition on Instagram, courtesy of Mimosa House London. I'm really happy to be here again, joined by a painter who specializes in nude self-portraits. And this is unusual. I can tell you this as an art historian. You don't see many paintings like this in the canon. He's doing something different, something eye-popping. And I'm really, really excited to discuss those paintings with him. And so I am speaking of none other than Glen Pudvine. And I will welcome him in without further ado. I'm waiting with bated breath to meet Glen for the first time.
Hello, you alright?
I'm okay, how are you?
I'm alright, yeah, I'm scared.
You're scared, don't be scared. I won't bite. So what's led you to start making nude self-portraits?
Right in with it.
Straight in with it.
Well, originally it was because I suppose I didn't know what else to do or something. And
yes. You said I read the interview with Elephant Magazine where you said that just narrowing in on that helped you because we have so much freedom as artists. We could go in any direction, and that can actually stop you. So then you found this, and it just took off.
Yeah, I could be interviewing people on Instagram Live instead or something.
You could be, exactly, and the possibilities are endless. I was a painter myself, actually.
Oh, you were?
And that's probably why I was attracted to your work, because I did a lot of paintings of naked men.
Oh, you did?
Yes, and
I could tell. I knew.
You knew?
Yeah, could tell.
How could you tell?
I don't know.
Anyway, so what was the first one? The first nude?
It was like me in the cinema looking back at the viewer, and I think I was making all these like paintings, and they were all like very varied. And I just didn't really know what I was interested in, and I was a bit lost. And then my friend, I was like really into going to the cinema at the time, and then my friend was like, "Oh, why don't you just make some works about going to the cinema? Just like really simplify. Make next 5 works, just do that." And then I think I was in Venice, and I saw this work. So I was thinking about that, and then I saw these works by Christian Schad.
Oh,
and, yeah, basically just saw them, and I was like, "Fuck!" Like how you can make like really weird images, like through just like, you don't have to do a lot really. You can just like make a portrait, you know, and there's like a lot of stuff going on in those paintings. And I really loved the simplicity of that and the eeriness of them. And so I was like, oh, I'll just paint myself in the cinema, because I suppose there was also this thing of like, and I still don't really feel totally comfortable with it, but the idea of like painting someone else or something, yeah, there's like a strange, maybe I'm just not mature enough to sort of deal with that yet. So I just use myself. That's the only sort of thing I feel like I can have any ownership over, or so yeah, it was like I suppose that's like the first thing as well, maybe, when you're like, I mean, I was painting for years obviously, but I was, you know, the first thing is like you make a self-portrait as you're getting into something. It sort of seems really obvious, and I like that as well. It was just really like simple. So it was just like paintings of me in the cinema basically, and then I'd like put little weird things in there that would maybe like hint at like little silly like insecurities that I would have that are just so stupid and pointless to worry about. Those maybe that enhanced the feeling of like the idea that like I had nothing interesting to say or something, and here it all was.
I see. So and how did it feel once you kind of revealed these insecurities in the imagery? How did it feel having people look at it? Was it hard to watch people look at it?
Those was it
hard?
Those original ones, maybe not so much, but it was a good way of like, it was a good way of just like talking to people about it, I suppose, like exposing certain little things, and then you have like chats about it, and it makes the thing seem even more stupid, and that was sort of fun, I think. But as they've got sort of more explicit in nature, probably, and it's a little bit harder to be around when people are looking at them. You know, I don't really like being like photographed next to them or something. You know, that's a thing. People like, "Oh, can I get a photo of you next to your work?" I'm like, nah.
Yes, I couldn't help but notice there's not a lot of pictures of you on the internet, like as you. There's loads of
I
paintings.
can't believe you found that one. Well,
it was easy. I just did a Google search and it was there.
Well,
and I was
it was like, I don't know if that like looks like me now though, or something that you'd be sure that, I don't know.
Well, you can't really see your face very well, and I was like, oh, he really doesn't flatter himself in the painting. But also it seemed like it was on your website, and it seemed to be labeled that it was a kind of performance. Was it?
Oh, it might have been on my it might have been on my website years ago. But if you were to go on it now, I don't think it would. It's not on my website now.
The image is on your website, but there's no description. There's just kind of no information at all.
So that image is on.
You don't know what's on your own website?
No, that's not on there. Because if it says, hold on.
I'm telling you.
I'm going to Google it, people. What if I put in my name into Google?
I'm seeing it more now, the painting face.
Right.
Concentrating, probably.
As I'm starting to like get this like worried face.
Perhaps.
Yeah, so it says contact Glen Pudvine. But that's not even, that's weird.
Anyway.
It is on my website.
Do you paint from life, or do you photograph yourself and then paint from photographs?
Photographs.
So you do take a lot of dick pics?
Yes. I mean, it's my job.
Your job is to take dick pics.
Yeah.
And what do your parents think about that? Do you have siblings? What do they think?
They're I suppose they're like into the fact that I'm still like doing it. I'm still doing art, so they're like quite proud of that, I think. And I think they like the way it's like got better technically, so they're into that sort of stuff. But I don't think they're really like into the content. I think like my mum said the other day something about like it being brave or something. So I think that's sort of a positive thing. She thinks it's brave. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's funny. Like recently, like my work's been getting reported on Instagram.
Oh yes, I was thinking that
before.
Yeah.
So that was sort of funny because there's like an ambiguity around like what is a dick pic now if my paintings are getting reported.
Yeah. Well, I must say your work is well timed for like the iPhone moment, because like when I was making these nude paintings, and I needed to get a photograph, I wanted to work from a photograph, I'd have to find, and I was doing this in the Midwest, and I'd have to find like an arty photo place that would develop my photos, because other places would not do it. And so like you had to go through that process of like having other people look at these pictures,
Yeah.
Whereas you have the freedom of like it's on your own phone and it's private, and anyway.
Yeah. That's difficult. Yeah. I was needing to get something printed a while back. I think I wanted to get, and I didn't have a printer, and I was going to get, and I said to them, I said, by the way, there's like paintings are quite, the images are quite weird though. So I had to like warn him about it. And then he was like, how weird though? What does that mean? I was like, oh, trying to explain it without, I don't know. Yeah, that must have been difficult for you. No wonder you turned away from painting.
Yeah, that was not the main reason at all. But yeah, one thing that was interesting though, when I was painting, I always did a flaccid penis for some reason. Like I once even had like a post-coital penis, like with a condom on it. But I never had an erect penis in any of my paintings, and it was commented on by my tutors. And in fact, some artists, I think in the UK, had been censored because I think it was like a rule that was like if it was more than a 45-degree angle, it would be censored. Yeah, I don't know what the rules are now, but
there's still like a watershed on it and like stuff like that as well. Like you can't be on telly an erect penis, but a penis can at a certain point.
Right. In America, there were no penises on TV at all. Like it was amazing when I came here. Me and my American best friend were like, there are penises on television until 8 o'clock.
It's great.
Shocked.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm still painting like flaccid ones as well.
Yeah, you do all sorts of penis gymnastics.
Yeah, all sorts of different moments.
And do you have a are you in a relationship?
I am, yeah.
And how does she? I knew that actually. I didn't want to reveal that. I knew that.
It'd be weird if she's probably watching now. If she's not working. Yeah, I don't know. She when we started dating, she knew. I mean, she knew me. She
knew what she was getting into.
Yeah, but it is a weird thing. I think she's like desensitized from it now, because I think obviously it could be difficult to be with someone exposing themselves in that way. It probably would be quite difficult, but I think because she knew me before, and I think she just doesn't. Yeah, I think we're speaking about it recently, and she doesn't think about it that much. Where I think, and I don't either, and then it's only until we have like a conversation with someone else about something else, about like another partner, whatever, and you go, oh right, I suppose that is weird that you do that, and yeah, I don't know, it's not a problem, but and also because they're so like they're sort of surreal or undermined as well. I hope.
Yes, they're.
But a lot of it was just like it. It was just better to paint as well. It was like more fun to paint, and then it was charged. It was this thing that was like what it meant to people or what it means in popular culture, and how like so when it's charged, it's like, then people are then having to make a decision of how they think about this thing. Is it aggressive, or is it like actually still like this like fragile thing?
Have you had much of like criticism written about it? Like, has anyone written or discussed it from a feminist perspective, or like, where do you think, is there like an implied gaze? That when we talk about nude paintings, we always talk about the gaze, the male gaze. Or
Find it hard. I don't know about. I mean, it's just been actually very varied of like the opinion on it, and sometimes I'd be like, when people would say, there hasn't been a lot written about it. I haven't really done a lot of stuff, but in school when we used to talk about it or something, someone would say something about it, and I always felt like going like, do you feel that? Because like, what is the erect penis in popular culture when it's like next to a dinosaur? Do you know what I mean? There's like someone else. That's what we're trying to do in art, aren't we? We're trying to like reimagine or rethink what this thing could mean, maybe, or something. Like, and so what does it mean if it's next to a dinosaur? Does it still have that same meaning for you in this thing that you read? Do you actually think that, or did you read that? And so now you're saying that, like, in this combination of things in front of you, does that erect penis still mean that thing?
Right. So it's like almost like a Brechtian thing, like a distancing, like the erect penis next to a, I don't know where I'm going with it, but,
Yeah.
but,
There was something else you said that I was gonna, I forgot.
something else. I know, it's so horrible when you're like mid flow and you're like, I know what I'm going to say next. And then you're like,
Especially when you're seeing people joining all the time.
I know.
And you're going, oh my God, joined?
Oh, right. So in Elephant Magazine, again, you said that you were confronting your normalness. So I wanted to know what's normal to you.
I think the normalness should be in air quotes.
Okay, normalness.
And I suppose that was coming from like at the beginning when I was like, oh, I don't have anything to like bring to the table. And I think I've like said before about like, oh, I was like, part of my family were Jewish, but then I wasn't Jewish because my mum wasn't Jewish, and I didn't have like anything interesting.
That doesn't matter.
To the table.
Sorry, I'm Jewish through my dad. Okay. You can be Reform, and it doesn't.
I've got 24% Ashkenazi.
Oh yeah. Okay, I'm 50%. I'm beating you on that.
Well, then I was just like, I'd be really excited to go and see that part of the family. But then I felt like I was like, didn't really like have that as well or something. So I was like, right. I can't really, and I don't really have any, can't really talk about that. And
so you have to talk from the position of a straight white.
Well, yeah. So then the normalness is like the problematic thing where it's like you're talking about a sort of a neutral thing, which is then that's what the fuck is neutral and what is So then I suppose we're talking about heteronormativity. That's that's a word. Heteronormativeness, maybe a maleness, maybe a whiteness, and I suppose, it's probably fucking guilt as well, of course. And so then there's that sort of just like putting that all out there, and maybe like in the image, maybe it's like undermining that. Hopefully,
there's one image where you castrated yourself.
Yeah, well, like what we consider normal or what we think is neutral is actually pretty weird. There's loads of whatever weird is as well. I don't know. But normalness is like that sort of normalness. I don't actually think anything's normal.
Right.
It's all pretty weird, isn't it? This world.
Yeah. And your paintings are making it more weird.
I hope so. Hope that, and I sort of like that they're a bit like heavy-handed as well, or something with there.
In what sense are they heavy-handed?
Well, it's not. It just doesn't seem like. Well, maybe this is just I don't think they're like subtly. Slick or like with their communication. Do you know what I mean? It's pretty like a big boner, a big dinosaur. I don't know.
Is there an element of like sensationalism to it, like in your continuing to pursue it? Or would you do it if nobody was interested in, I don't know. Yeah.
I try not to. I'm not in. I don't feel like there's enough people interested in it for me to keep going doing it. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't feel that way. I know you've asked me to do this talk, which is lovely, but I don't feel like it's like, oh, I'm in this sort of demand to do this thing. And
Right.
I've got, I've got to fulfill it.
Of course.
It doesn't feel that way, and it doesn't. And even if it did, I'd try and put that aside, because I just don't think you can think too much about like what other people are expecting. But what I would say is that like each painting is like, it always feels like it's in conversation with the last one. And I think that's how it, like, you know, it's hard to sometimes where someone goes like, oh, what's it all about? Or where did this come from? It's like, well, it's sort of a series of things. And because I did that, and then it made me think of this, and then I combine that with this. So it gets quite messy and confused, which is like fun.
Mm.
It's like an amalgamation of different times. And then that make up like the way you feel about the world. And your like experience within it or something.
I want to go back to something you said before. You mentioned the word guilt. What guilt for what? Guilt about what?
The fact that I'm not able to, that I was like doing that I was making paintings.
Oh, as opposed to like hard labor or something more important.
Yeah, there's something more actually important, or like that, like I was able to do something that was like that I really enjoyed, and it was like, oh fucking hell, I feel, you know, why am I in this position? You know, like
so you really, really enjoy painting yourself naked in weird positions with oversized dinosaurs.
Well, no, I don't. Well, I don't.
Toys.
That's sort of like that's the sort of what I'm talking about in my show that's up at the moment. It's joking, you know, like pretending that this is my penance to make these works. It's not really, but you know, it's sort of.
Yeah, and
they're annoying. These paintings are annoying. You know, something, you know, like they like being confronted with this all the time. And
what is this that you're being confronted with?
These paintings, these self-portraits. You know, there's the
image of yourself.
Yeah, but then there's like, it does give back as well, and the fact that it provides this structure that then leads on to other things that I'm excited about making that are going to be a departure from these things. And then it's something that like I can come back to. It's like an anchor. I mean, the most enjoyable bit about the paintings is like putting like the whites in the eyes or the whites in the teeth. That's like those moments are like the best moments. Really,
why don't you just do a whole painting of eyes and teeth then?
Because then it won't be fun. It's something about, basically like you like give this image, you give this like figure, like life, this moment when you put the whites in the teeth in, for whatever reason, or the whites of the eyes, it like does something and it gives it character, and it really makes me laugh. I'll be like in my studio like laughing. It's just something about it. That's like the enjoyable bit. And like for the first time ever, I'm making new works at the moment that are going to be in a show in June, and I'm like in a bit of a rush to do it. I've never like really felt like that, and it doesn't feel actually that fun. It feels like a little bit more like a proper job.
Oh, the pressure.
Yeah. It's like how, like, yeah, kind of interesting.
So can I just go back to like the subject matter a bit? I think it's obviously because of your appearance, and your identity. The paintings become about masculinity, but is that a conscious choice, or what's your relationship to masculinity?
Yeah, it's not like it seems like such a fucking like a get out, but it's not even really necessarily something I'm interested in. But obviously, I have to like talk about it because of what the content is. But it's not even that I'm like trying to do that necessarily. It was, it was originally trying to make like a good picture, and then what do you make a picture about, and then like and then starting to realize, this is all about like death and like the oblivion. and like not being here anymore. And but then it comes out in these sort of weird ways, and yeah, it's like signifiers, I suppose, of sort of life and virility. It's just suppose the penis is, and then there's something funny about being the erect penis is like full of blood, and blood is like life and it's death. The reason why, again, like what I've maybe going to say before, is that like naked, because like I wouldn't know what clothes to put the figure in. Like clothes seem like a negotiation I just don't want to have to do. Like what clothes, so it's just better like put them naked, and then it's like also enjoyable to paint like the flesh. Kind of enjoy that. But
so it's like
there's any like
autoerotic.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know too much about it. Someone said that to me.
If you enjoy painting yourself nude.
Well, like Tom of Finland drawings. There was this film about Tom of Finland that was in the ICA in London. It's about his life, and I'm going to see it like 2 years ago or 3 years ago. And there was a moment where he's just had someone over. He just like slept with someone, and he's like drawing by the bed or something. And the guy gets up to like look over his shoulder, see what he's drawing. And he's talking about his drawing, and he goes like, "I know it's good when I'm hard." And I was like, "Oh, that's the difference." Like, I really don't feel that way about the word. I'm not like, there's not an autoerotic. There's not like, and I think you can tell by the way. You can see when he's like doing his drawings, you're like, it is sexy. The way he's doing like the curves and the bum and the chest and the dick and the bulge, and it's like really erotic. You're like, woof. Doesn't matter what persuasion you are, you're like, that is sexy. But with mine,
yours is not like that. It's not sexy.
It's not. It's not sexy.
Even though it's got erections. I guess that's what's interesting about them, is that it's got these erections all over the place, but it's not sexy.
Not sexy erections.
But yes, have you ever thought about like what?
I don't know.
Have you ever thought about painting women or?
Thought about it. I've thought about it.
Or have you done any paintings of women?
In the past, but it's just a difficult. I think I will. I want to paint other people.
How old are you?
32.
32. Okay.
I'm a very immature man, maybe.
I just was curious, because it's like, I feel like a lot of artists, they might start out, like you said already, about doing your focus on yourself, and yourself is accessible to you, so you do that, and then you want to move on to maybe widening out your view. So
yeah,
maybe that will happen.
I just feel like I haven't figured out a way to do that where it just doesn't seem like problematic to me or something. Yeah. And I don't think it's impossible that I could or someone could, do that. I just haven't figured it out yet. Yeah.
Yeah, that is tricky. I see what you mean.
Like the male, like the man, like painting the woman and like putting it, I don't know.
Yeah.
Woman, and then there's somehow there's like a cruelty to an image sometimes as well, especially when you're a little bit out of control of like, I don't know, you mentioned something before about like flattery and stuff. It's like, I'm not really in control of that, I don't think. Sometimes I'm flattering myself and then sometimes I'm not, and I'm a little bit like, ooh, like making it, if I'm making it too flattering, it's like, oh shit, it's hard to look at when it's like, oh, I've made myself like better there. But then I don't want to be like undermined, like, being self-deprecating, like on purpose, being like, oh, I'm like this. I like it when it's a bit confusing, or you can't pin that bit down, I feel like that's kind of important.
So that's the kind of criteria you use to judge whether it's successful or not. It's like not too flattering, but not self-deprecating, somewhere in between, or somewhere where your judgment becomes...
Maybe, yeah. I wouldn't have thought of it as like criteria, because it's just like inner monologue, you know, like this inner thing in your head going like, ooh, like that. Maybe that body's a bit too flattering there. I mean, I was saying this to my friend a bit ago, and he was just like, they've always been obnoxiously sexy. So I was like, going like, oh, do you think like this one, maybe, shit, have I done myself to? And he was like, they've always been obnoxious. And said, you know, like, and I was like, oh, right. So I thought that was sort of funny that I'm like worried about these little details of like, oh, do I look a bit more in shape there? Or have I done my face a bit nicer there? And he's just going like, it's all obnoxious. Don't worry about these signs. I was like, oh, right. So I don't know how it feels important, but I'm not in control of I don't know exactly what the feeling is when it's like not right and when it's right. It's just like ooh, I don't know. But that's what you're doing, and you're making them, and you're like trying to find out what this, you know, that's like the investigation. That's what you'd hope an art practice is. It's like an investigation. And maybe if you were to speak to me like in like a year's time or whatever, it'd be like very different to me, which I suppose it should be, because we're all changing and the world's changing all the time. And might look back at them in 10 years and go like, don't know, say something really, really different about them. You know, I don't know. I'm in the fog of it in a way.
Yeah. You're in the middle of it. Someone's asked a question. Shall we see what they asked? Oh, wait, no, that says no questions. I thought it was telling me there was one. Oh, look, how important is authenticity to you? That's a good question. From and a penguin walked.
How important is
I feel like in a way you've already answered that. It sounds like it's pretty important.
I think it is important, but I just think when you say that, you just sound like a dickhead as well. If I was like to go, like, it's really important to feel, but it is a good question. It's like but also it's sort of what I don't know where the authentic part is, and you know, to sort of perform, is that being authentic, or is it not? Like, you know, to perform something that isn't necessarily yourself, is that inauthentic, or is that authentically you doing the thing that you do?
That is a good question.
Yeah. I think it is important. Because sometimes I'd see, you know, like sometimes I would see, it's really important because you'd see someone's like work sometimes, and you might not be into it, and there might be a lot of issues in the work for you, or you might just hate the way it looks. But sometimes when it's like, if it's authentic, you go back and really respect that, because it's really them. But I just don't like the work. Do you know what I mean? But it's like good at the same time. Or maybe you'd be like, I don't like them as a person either. So then I don't really like their work, but it is authentic. It is authentically them. So maybe that's good. Yeah, I think it is important, probably. You don't want to be inauthentic.
Yeah, you don't want to be inauthentic, but at the same time, you are not your work. You are separate from it. So
yeah, but like, yeah, you are. But then you know, I don't know what is authentic. Like inauthentic is like copying, or like not trying to be something that you're not, or something.
Yeah, inauthentic would be trying to be something that you're not.
Yeah, so like what you're doing, what would you? I think this feels pretty.
I knew you were gonna.
No, but I feel like this is pretty authentic, which is why like I wanted to do it, because it felt like it made me feel a bit nervous and weird. And I was like,
I was worried you thought I was going to be inauthentic, and that's why you felt nervous and weird. But
well, no, I think you could say that this is inauthentic because you're like, you know, like what is?
Because
what
I'm
is,
like,
you're not. I think you're doing a performance. You're like doing this. You're like, I think you're like asking questions that like interest you, and you're asking people to do this thing that maybe you're interested in, but through the sort of this like net of the performance.
Someone's asked a new question. How do you see your work evolving?
That's an old friend from Chester, Chris Rossi. Hello, Chris. What is he doing watching this? Shouldn't you be at work? How do I see my work evolving?
More dick pics.
Good question, Chris. I suppose it probably is something like other people being involved in the work at some point. I don't know when, but that seems like that's like something that makes me nervous, but like a good sort of nervous.
Or you could go the other way and just do still lifes.
Well, yeah, I have made some still lives, and I think I'm interested in that and sort of still life on things. Thinking about what the sort of stage or the plinth is or something. But yeah, I think there's something about like it'll be like a different stage in my life, not just like my practice when I'm like painting other people, perhaps. You know, it's like I think that would be like a moment of like, oh, I've changed, like mentally or something. But I don't think I'll also stop these either. Maybe it'll evolve as in like there might just be like the animals that I'm interested in. I like a lot of like paleo art, which is like Victorian depictions of prehistoric times, and there's an artist from that era, like one particular called Walton Ford, who makes these amazing, like trippy, like sort of gouache paintings of like animals, like elephants with huge dicks and all these birds like on the dick, and really weird. Look it up. But it's like things about maybe it's like it'll evolve into like animals. But also I hope to get like better at picture making. You know, that's like one of the main things as well. It's like getting better at something. I'm really like into the fact I can get better at stuff, and that probably comes from like sport, being into sport, and sort of like knowing that like the hours you put into something, you get better at it. And so knowing every painting I make, I always I'm feeling like I just keep getting better every time I make. I'm like, oh, I've done that moment in that picture better. The only issue is that like when you've like finished it, you've sort of moved beyond it as you're like doing it, or as you're about to finish it. You're like, fuck, I could have done that better. But you have to sort of accept that as like, oh, that's just where I was at when I was doing that, and that's okay. It's still of you or whatever. But I don't know if that's answered your question, Chris Sorocity from Chester.
I think you've answered all my questions, although I still feel like there's more to know, obviously. But it's interesting that you bring up sports, and yeah, it seems like another kind of masculine act. You know, and obviously everyone can do sports. I'm not saying that it is, but it. You know what I'm trying to say.
Well, this is what I hope the work can sort of make. You know, what's maybe good about the work sometimes is it makes people trip up a bit as they're, you know, I think like any.
I have a good question to end on, actually. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt you though. If you had something else to say.
Maybe what I was going to say is like any like predisposed idea of what masculinity is sort of a problem. But also any like predisposed criticism of masculinity is also like a weird problem. That's what I think about that.
How is it a weird problem?
Well, like the idea that masculine, like, you know, the idea that something masculine is inherently like bad or something, and I think it's way more. And that goes alongside like maybe sport seeming masculine, and it's like, what does that mean? Like, why? What does that mean? I find it. Those things need to be sort of like questioned, maybe. I don't know.
It gets you tied up in a knot, which kind of makes you think of your painting of yourself, kind of.
Yeah. I mean,
but yeah. So my last question, and it really should be the last one because I don't want to take up too much of your time. And also, I think my battery might be dying on my phone. Which is, how do you feel like, are there parts of yourself that are feminine? Like, how do you relate to femininity?
How do I relate to femininity?
Maybe that's a way to get women's bodies in. Oh, you already have done that a bit with your
Done that
portrait.
A bit,
yeah.
It wasn't necessarily about that though, but
no, it wasn't about that. I mean, it doesn't seem to be about that. But yeah, femininity.
How do I relate to femininity? I don't really understand the question.
Do you think do you have a feminine side? Let me see if I can get my plug and.
So, like, I would say I do. I would say I do, but I don't really know what that means as well. Like, when you start to unpick it or unpack it, like, what does that mean? But I feel like, you know, in certain art circles, I would be seen as like a very masculine lad type. And then
right.
in basically the whole population, rest of the population of the country, I wouldn't be.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
yes.
like in
yes.
different, I'm trying to talk about.
Yeah, context is everything. I'm going to plug in.
I like the highly emotional conversations and feelings. But is that feminine? I don't know. I'm not. I don't think any of us are as.
Yeah, it's key because you can't answer the question without pigeonholing these.
It's like a good question. It's a good question. I think the O show would ask. Like it's like one of those. Like when you said that, I was like, oh, that really feels like something that would be asked, and I would just go like, I love it. I think it's great. I love femininity. Fantastic, isn't it? It's great.
So are you being inauthentic now?
No, I'm not.
Oh. I can't tell now. I'm so confused. I'm samished in the kepi.
Yeah.
To throw in a little Yiddish.
Yeah. Oi, oi.
But yeah, so yeah, I guess maybe what I should ask is, how do you relate to hegemonic masculinity and hegemonic femininity? Because then we could kind of pin down what that might mean. But as you said, even that depends on context. So in the art world, you may be a macho guy, and in wherever you're from, I don't know, you're effeminate.
Yeah.
How do you feel about being called effeminate? Or being thought of as effeminate?
Well, I suppose if someone said that, I would be, because I'm an artist in London, I would probably be like, oh yeah, that's cool. But then if someone was to say while I was in London and said like, you're very masculine, or you're very like, I'd be like, what do you mean by that? Depends who says it. It depends who says it, because who says it is like that depends on where it's coming from, then, don't you?
Yes, yeah.
One of those fucking. I mean,
well,
hegemony is not good. I think. I don't know.
Hegemony is not good. That's a good note to end on. But also, and we could maybe remember the wise words of the self-help guru Louise Hay, who says we all have masculine and feminine sides, and we should embrace those sides, both sides of ourselves.
Yeah. That's what I think. Perfect.
Great. Thank you so much for speaking with me. It's been really, really wonderful to get to know you a little bit, and I'm sure everyone else watching appreciates it. Look, there's loads of love coming.
Yeah, look at all those hearts. They love me. They really love me. Yeah, this is good. This is interesting. Thank you.
That concludes my discussion with Glen Pudvine. Glen wanted me to let you know that he has a show coming up in October That's this coming October in a gallery in Deptford, which is pronounced Shirahi. It's spelled XXJIRA. But yeah, Shirahi in Deptford, Glen Pudvine in October, if you happen to be around. I will put the details in the show notes. Don't forget to check out the new website, theoshow.live, and the new episodes that have just dropped. What else? Oh yeah, next time
on Multiple O's.
Next time on Multiple O's, I'm going to share an interview with Mr. John Kilduff. That's Mr. Let's Paint, as he is also known. And so I thought, another white, straight male painter. Why not? Why not have two in a row? So that's something to look forward to next time on Multiple O's.
Next time on Multiple O's.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for continuing to listen. Thanks for getting to this point in this episode to hear me say, I hope you will accept yourselves unconditionally, your lives, and other people, because we're all just fallible human beings.